Hello everybody and welcome to this video of myself, Sam Gregory, and today we're going to be looking at two ring lights that are available from Kaiser through Fotospeed. Now I'm going to talk to you about all the differences in the lights, how they work, what they come with and everything else. Now just before we get to that, don't forget to subscribe please to the Fotospeed channel. We have new videos coming out every week with products, printing information, technical setup on your computer and also talking to leading photographers as well. Now, let's get back to talking about these ring lights. There's two different ones here I'm going to chat about, the R60 from Kaiser and the KR90, its kind of bigger brother, also from Kaiser. These two do different jobs and they fill in really nicely for convenient light when you're on the go, maybe macro photography, maybe even portraits or even videography as well. And I'll talk about those uses a little bit more further down in the video. But without any further ado, let's get into these, unbox them and have a look and see what they both come with. Okay, so first up, let's have a quick look at what comes inside the R60 kit. It's super straightforward, not too much gear, and you can be plugged in and up and running before you know it. Now, first up, obviously you have the ring light itself, and I've already attached the batteries inside. It takes 4 AA's, which you'll see in here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the functionality and actually why I think that is not a bad thing as opposed to being a rechargeable unit itself when we get into the on-camera test. The ability that you have here to dim is on this little slider, and you can actually buy a separate AC DC power in there, 5-volt power in, if you wish to have a cable power in. But I think the battery use is much more straightforward. Now in terms of how you actually get it onto the camera, it comes with 6 filter adapter rings here, and these can just be either screwed onto your lens, onto the end of the lens, just pick the correct size. For example, I'm using 62mm today. So you can either screw that on and then slide the light over it, or if you wish to, you can just simply slide that thread in here and then screw the whole thing onto the end of the lens. Now that's the R60. We'll have a quick look at the box of the KR90, then we'll try them both on the camera and see what we think. Okay, so now let's have a little look at the KR90 and what comes in the box. So just whip it open, a little carry pouch for it there, which is quite neat inside. Some basic instructions, and I'm going to just walk you through the main things anyway in the video. Then underneath this little cover, we get to the light itself, and very simple to operate, just the on-off switch here and the adjustable dial. And I'm going to show you that on the actual camera and the usage of that being dimmable, and also you have the power in here. And this has an internal lithium-ion battery which is fully rechargeable. Now underneath the actual light, there's a few bits and bobs which I did just want to show you, and that includes the filter ring adapters. So that's how you attach it basically. You find the correct size, and they give you 6 different ones, and then it steps you up from your lens thread, so in my case 62mm, it steps me up from that to the native 77mm thread on the back of the light. You also get a little power pack which can plug into the mains, and you can therefore charge the unit from that. But fully charged, it will last a couple of hours at full capacity. And there's also one of these little neat, car type chargers as well to charge it whilst you're on the go. So you don't always need to plug it in to the mains power as well. But without any further ado, we'll stick the R60 and the KR90 both onto the camera, and I'll talk you through how they vary and which one might be best suited for you. The main thing I would say about this R60, first up out the gate, is it is not heavy. It's 128 grams without the batteries. And you always have a worry when you're putting something on the front of the lens and the front of the camera. Is it gonna kind of, you're gonna get that feeling from it? And is it damaging it or anything like that? Is it gonna be heavy to carry all through the day if you have it on there? The short answer is no. The R60 in particular is super light, and it's a really easy thing just to pop on and work with. Now, the other main benefit I would say about it, which might sound a bit strange, is that it is battery powered. Now, sometimes you think that might be a bit fiddly, you don't want to have to carry batteries with you, etc. But in my experience, if you're using this out and about in the field, if the batteries go, that's fine. You just put new batteries in and you carry on. There's no waiting to find power, there's no waiting to recharge it, you just keep moving with it. So if you're someone who's on the go with these things and you think you might use it out and about, this actually, I think the R60 would be a better bet than the KR90. It has a smaller angle of light, 52 degrees, and it pumps out slightly less light, but I do find it is maybe more practical for those of you that are moving around because of the weight and because of the ease of quickly changing some batteries. Now, in terms of how we actually use it, and there's going to be a limited amount you can see here, but I'll try and give you an extra shot on the video. It's really simple just to scroll with this finger down here on the dimmer, and it dims up and down really quite easily in that control area. Now, what I would say is it's obviously set to one color temperature, so it's daylight balanced at 5,600 kelvins, there or thereabouts. And so at least you know what you're going to get. And so if you're shooting, you can at least balance that light accordingly on your camera as well. So this is the R60, super light, super easy to use. The minimum fuss, I would say. The slight downside of it is it doesn't pump out a huge amount of light compared to the KR90 in particular. So you'd have to check whether that's enough for you. But in my situations, in my examples that I've used it for, certainly for closer up stuff within a meter or so, up to a couple of meters, it is going to have an impact. Any more than that, obviously, it's not the right thing for it. Now, just before I get onto the KR90, I was going to mention if you're shooting videos either at home or on the move as well, sometimes using a ring light you can get away with it and it maybe gives a little pop in the eye, which is quite nice. Other times it can be a little bit disturbing for the person who's speaking to the camera, because if they're staring down the lens, essentially they're staring at a load of lights all the time. So another option to that would be to have an on camera, so on the hot shoe light. And I've done a separate video about the Kaiser 144 Vario light, which does just that job. So maybe you can check that out separately. But now let's have a look at the KR90, the bigger brother, I suppose, of the R60. It's bigger, it's heavier, but it's got a lot more oomph to it as well. And we'll talk about how that works and when that might be best suited for you. Now, what I would say first up, the KR90, it's more money. It's just under £300 as opposed to under £100 on the R60. So it is much more of an investment. It's nearly three times the price, pretty much. Now, what I would say, although the sort of footprint of it on the front of the lens isn't massively bigger than the R60, the KR90 is significantly heavier. It's 300 grams without the batteries. Now, when I pick it up, it does therefore feel a little bit more front heavy. However, I am definitely not, feeling it just drop away all the time. But I can feel it in the hand, especially if I'm just shooting one-handed. Now, it will therefore depend where you're going to use this and when you're going to use it. I'm not sure I'd want to have it on as a on lens light all day long, but it's not really designed to do that. Ring lights like this offer a bit more breadth of view, so the KR90 has 110 degree angle as opposed to half of that on the R60. So you have to think of it more as a bigger fill light, so to speak. And actually, although you can use it on the camera like this, which is quite neat, especially if you're doing any sort of work up to 1 meter or 2 meters, you can really fill that light in, which can be very useful. You can actually also mount it to a tripod or a small light stand, and you could use it as an off-camera side fill, videography side fill, something like that. So it has got multiple uses. The other benefit of this, which, as I say, depends on how you work, is that it is a rechargeable lithium-ion battery. So at full power, at full radiation, shall we say, full luminance, you should get 2 hours out of the charged internal battery. So to be clear, you're not replacing batteries, it's an internal battery that you charge and recharge. Obviously, if that runs down, I mentioned on the R60, it's quite useful just to be able to change and go. You can just plug it in and you could just work powered with the cable coming out, or you could wait for it to recharge. But again, I think for this, maybe it's a bit more of an in-studio situation where you always have that power to hand and you know you're going to be using it just for a period of time. Now, like the R60, it's super simple to use. You just flick a button here on the back and then you just can dial that up or down using a small knob here on the back side where you just twist it left or right. Now, the only little thing I would say with this you have to watch is when you turn it down, if you go down far enough, basically the light is off. And I would be very careful to just make sure you remember to actually switch it off. Otherwise it may still be draining the battery, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't as soon as you turn it down there. But it's quite an easy one just to forget that you need to go and actually turn that off. So in summary, This KR90 is a bit bigger, it's a bit heavier, but it does a different job. It will give you much more of a broader fill of light. And so depending on your circumstances, that might be a better thing for you to have. Plus, it also doubles up as a side fill light on a camera, on a videography thing, whatever it might be. It's basically potentially a little bit more versatile if you just want to fill a space with light, whereas I'd suggest the R60 is more specific to doing something very much just right in front of you. Now, I hope that helps. Do check out all the rest of the YouTube videos that we offer here on the Fotospeed channel. They're dropping every single week, covering products that we sell, paper that we sell, differences in printing and how to print, and all sorts of tutorials about setting your computer up to print in the best way. And indeed, we do a range of photography interviews as well with leading photographers. So subscribe to the channel, and I shall speak to you all very soon.